Right, this is Chris recording for the War Room, playing Age of Empires 2 HD Edition and the Forgotten expansion. Without further ado, let's get on with the Forgotten campaigns. We'll start off with Alaric's campaign, which is set around the time of the fall of Rome from the Goths' perspective. The nightmare is always the same. I shiver awake, watching the arrows rain down. I can feel the heat of burning tents. Hooves clatter, swords crash together, and bodies tumble into the dust. I can smell death. My three brothers lost their lives defending our tribes from the Hunnic raids. On those nights, I would roll close to Alaric. I touched every scar and remembered the sacrifices he made for his people. I loved him deeply, my husband and my king. Never before had the Goths been led by such a great man. After the Hunnic invasion, Alaric left our tribe to join the Roman army. Like so many of our young men, he longed for revenge. With his exceptional strength and cunning mind, his reputation grew, and soon he led centuries of men. But the Romans are treacherous masters. Alaric grew weary of false promises of gold and land. Whilst he fought the wars of other men hundreds of leagues away, we wandered homeless. I still remember the thousands of campfires shining through the dark nights. When he did return, he rarely spoke, just stared embittered into the campfire as if he saw God staring back at him, just as silently. Then one day everything changed. He swept into camp, took me in his arms and kissed me like never before. And he laughed. Stilichko has agreed to a deal. The Roman general? I replied. The one you've been butting heads against all these years? Why would he have made a deal now? He gave me a cryptic smile. There are always conspiracies in Rome, players for power, he said. But our people need land here and now, in Thrace. For that, I would make a deal even with Stilichko. He is willing to give it to us. The night was filled with music and laughter. The joy of 1,000 Gothic camps. Their king had found them a new home. But the pendulum of Roman conspiracy swings both ways. Campfires of that happy night soon smouldered to ashes. Our hopes followed when the refugees began pouring in. Children, widows, destitute masses of bleeding people, all terrified for their lives and exhausted from flight. It was then when we heard the Senate had found out about Stilichko and his deal. They killed him and slaughtered every barbarian they found in Rome. Come morning, the legions of Goths marched from camp, once again fighting for Rome. They would fight the Romans for it. That's how our campaign begins. Scout, why are you rushing upon the leader in this manner? Speak now before I cut you down where you stand. I'm sorry, Alaric, but I have news. Roman transport ships carry large amounts of food into the city by the river. If we are to challenge the Romans, we must stop this now. You're right. We must secure those supply lines. Rome's walls are strong, but they won't help against starvation. We'll take over that river. Okay, that's how the first episode begins. So we need Alaric to survive, and we also need to destroy the 3 watchtowers to take control of the river. One here, and one here. One's on the eastern bank and 2 are on the western bank. The western bank's quite a bit more heavily fortified than the eastern bank. We're currently on the eastern bank too, so at least that means that the Romans aren't as heavily fortified on this side. Right, okay. So I'm going to section the... Oh, hang on. Still not one. Right, gonna section all the ranged infantry into one unit. Yeah, line formation should do it. And then cavalry in another. Alaric, we have found a Goth refugee camp. These soldiers look eager to join our cause. So, throughout the forest you'll find various refugees that have fled from the Romans. So it's just a matter of finding where the refugees are. So here we've got some Tartans, which must mean some of these Huns, apparently. Since that's the Huns unique unit. Tartan. Well, whatever the case, let's continue onwards. Main thing we're looking for is Goth refugees. I heard many refugees are still wandering these woods. Last night we saw campfires to the east. So I assume that's the refugees we just picked up. He's referring to here. Secondary objective: search the eastern bank of the river for lost refugees. They will be happy to join your forces. So pretty much just what I've said before, which is just to search along the bank to try and find refugees. You also got to be on the lookout for any legionnaires that might be lurking around, since they like to patrol the area. Right, and looks like we stumbled upon an Italian village. The Italians are actually friendly towards us, so we should be okay. It's only Rome that's hostile, and the legionnaires. Looks like we've stumbled on a legionnaire camp. And some refugees. Well, captives, I suppose would cover it better. Bring Alaric and the infantry down to help out. Now, one of the things that, well, the main thing that Tartans are best at is buildings. You get an attack bonus against buildings. So they're good when you want to raise a fairly unprotected camp like this. Now on this side, near the monastery, we have a monk. This monk will come in handy if any of our units get injured, since we don't have any monks ourselves. Might as well pull the cavalry back and just let the infantry have at it. Since infantry and ranged units are usually better against buildings. Well, infantry specifically. Ranged units aren't particularly good against buildings. Not normally. With the exception of maybe a couple units like hand cannoneers, but most ranged units are not that great against buildings. At least not unless you count siege weapons anyway. But yeah, never mind that little fact. Right, so yeah, the main task at hand here is just to find. Oh no! Looks like we've found a leech. Looks like we found a patrol with legionnaires. Not really one I wanted to lead my cavalry into, since the legionnaires have pikemen. Pikemen are dangerous against cavalry, as evidenced right there. I mean, our cavalry are still well prepared for them, but took some losses that we could have really done without. Also, this infantry unit's getting a bit bloated, so I'll have to shrink it down a bit. Take this chunk over here, and leave the other one as a separate unit. Got space for those two. And again, this is why it's handy that the monks are here, just so we can heal up our units. So, whilst the cavalry's been healed, I'm just going to explore this small group over here. It's usually best to keep away from the roads. Got to reinforce. Yes, it's generally better to keep away from the roads, because otherwise you might encounter some legionnaires that you could have avoided. I mean, it's not the end of the world really, but it's not the best policy. Not the best policy to go on the roads, I mean. That and the fact that the Gothic refugees are usually hiding in the woods, so kills two birds with one stone. Like there, for instance. I mean, you don't really have to section your army off into cavalry and infantry, but it'll make the scouting process a lot quicker if you do separate your cavalry. Otherwise, they do tend to get bogged down by the lower speed of infantry. If you section them off, they're only limited by the slowest cavalry. Since we've all got light cavalry, I think, apart from one knight, should be fairly fast. Yeah, back onto the hunt. So there's still some refugees around, just a matter of finding them. Again, I don't really want to attack with cavalry. I'd rather use these infantry against pikemen, since the pikemen aren't really that great against infantry. Don't know, do woman count as infantry? I guess the difference between ranged units and infantry depends on context, I guess. Doesn't really matter. Never works really. So there should be some goths in the nearby woods here. It's all just a matter of finding them, really. So there's none here. Got one straggler, so I want to catch up first. Ah, here we go. There shouldn't be too many more refugee groups. Can't remember how many there are exactly, but we've found about 2 or 3, depending on how you count captives in the mix. So there shouldn't be too many more. Now, one of the important points about gathering these refugees is to get more Huskarls, because the Huskarls are very good against towers, because they've got very good protection against ranged weapons. Ah, you're Alaric? I really need your help. I'm a part of a small group of refugees who have escaped a Roman camp to the north. And cut off before I could read the rest of it. Annoying, since I can't, since there's no feature that I'm aware of that can record any of that. Oh well, never mind. Essentially, we've got to go to the north and bust these refugees out. Oh, but first, we've got to just so happen I found a Roman camp over here. might have noticed how the Huskars are virtually unscathed compared to the longswordsmen who took quite a battering from those arrows. Again, the protection from range damage really helps a lot against towers. And again, there's no real reason to destroy palisades, but I don't see why not. There's no reason to, but then on the other side there's no reason not to. So I'll leave these palisades to the infantry whilst I explore a bit. Now, there still should be some refugees. That camp to the north has is a military camp of legionnaires. So we don't really want to attack it until we've gathered as many refugees as we can. You might notice that these legionaries resemble units from Age of Empires 1, The Rise of Rome. I think that's because they are the same unit as far as I'm aware. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I do think that is the case. Well, whatever the case anyhow, I think we have enough units to take on the Legionnaires, so it would probably be a good idea to pull our forces in attack. We don't want our cavalry to get into a battle quite yet, but it doesn't look like we're going to have any say in that. Legionaries aren't so bad for cavalry, mainly just because they don't get any bonuses against them. It's the pikemen that are a concern, mostly. So you can see they've got quite a few pikemen. That being said, we should have enough soldiers to handle it. So this is probably the first true battle we've really got in yet. And we do have a good reason for getting in it, since we get quite a few units for our trouble. Apparently there's still some refugees on the bank though, lurking around.